It's twilight. Robert Ross is in his chair, staring into the fire, a cigarette in hand.
So tired. So many trials and libel cases have worn me out. I've been on trial most of my life. First, Oscar was on trial. Well, Queensberry was on trial for libel. He wrote on his calling card for Oscar Wilde, posing sodomite. Couldn't even spell the word. Yet he was right. Oscar was always posing. He might as well have been on trial, not Queensberry. Instead of Queensberry, not Queensberry. Then Oscar was on trial, twice. And I and all our kind on trial with him. I was with him when he died, held his hand on his deathbed while he was baptized, buried him in Bagneux, where Bosie stole attention with grotesque displays of grief. He who had consigned him there through his rash vanity. History repeats. Douglas hounded me through literary London, slandered me about affairs with waiters, set detectives on me, fingered me to Scotland Yard for going with a rent boy. I had to sue. I lost. I should have known from Oscar, our kind are always in the wrong. My secretary in prison now a second time. My reputation tattered. The policeman at my door.
Policeman appears at his side. We have information that you are an art critic, a pacifist, a consorter with the Conchies, a sympathiser with German prisoners. You visit them, a man of feminine and perverted tastes and a professed and militant atheist.
Absolutely true. And I can produce documentary evidence to prove it. So what are you going to do?
Oh, no. Policeman goes away at a loss.
I'm not afraid in these twisted times, but everyone must be careful. I've been on trial all my life, win or lose. Every time a little death, a waning of vitality, until now, when death cannot be far away. Or maybe I am dead already.
Siegfried Sassoon bursts in.
I can't stand it anymore. These armchair fighters with their wall charts and pig-ignorant opinions. They send men like me to do their killing for them. Second-hand bloodlust, murder by proxy.
Have a brandy. It's my last bottle from before the war. It's rather good. There's Turkish delight and macaroons. I know your sweet tooth. Help yourself, my dear. I'm too tired to get up.
Do you know who I saw this morning? Churchill. At the Ministry of Munitions. Chips Channon thought he might have got a job to keep me from the front. You know what the old brute said to me? War is the finest pursuit of man. It brings out his noblest qualities, his courage and his sacrifice. Total comradeship, total dedication, all focused on one glorious goal. Oh. And I looked at him and thought, this is the man who killed my brother. He sent him to Gallipoli.
At least he spoke from experience. He was at the front.
Behind the front? He only went to the front for the photographs. What does he know of guts exploding in your face? Your best friend, blasted to 1,000 bits beyond all hope of burial. I told him he could keep his job.
You don't have to go back, you know. wounded twice. You've done enough.
And then you know what? I had to go and see the Russian ballet at the Colosseum. Maynard insisted crazy for the dance.
Or at least the dancers. Always a ballerina on each arm. Maynard without a dancer would be like Charlie Chaplin without a stick. What did you see?
Parade. Or should that be parade? It's by a frog called Sati. And so ugly. Dancers going around in cardboard boxes. They can hardly move, let alone dance. Oh, what a noise. Typewriters and foghorns smashing milk bottles, but when they came to pistols, the Ballet Russes has no idea. No one in this country has any idea. Parade is only 20 minutes long, but quite long enough to give me a splitting headache.
Calm down. Sit here.
He indicates between his legs. Sassoon sits. Ross massages his temples. There has been great physical intimacy in the past between them.
Let's talk of something much more gratifying. How is the book received?
Oh, it's not selling badly for poetry. It seems to appeal to all those now against the war.
And they're growing daily, thank the Lord. Haig and Lloyd George cannot draw out this blood sacrifice much longer.
You've always been consistent, Robbie. Opposed the war when we were all caught up in hysteria.
I had my share of white feathers.
Another cross to bear among so many.
Hush, dear boy. No more of that. Let us savor the peace and silence of Piccadilly at dusk.
A companionable pause. A doorbell interrupts. The lights cross-fade to reveal at the side of the stage Podge and his best friend Splodge. They are in the middle of a furious argument.
No, Podge, it won't do.
Oh, why not? I've written you a part.
A wretched part. A dim, silly girl who follows you around and giggles. All the other characters say she's awful, like her mother. I don't mind being awful. I'd rather like to be awful. But there's nothing to be awful with. Even her name is dull. Faith Crombie, what a bore.
What's wrong with it?
Can't I have a funny name at least? I know, Faith Crumble.
Faith Crumble and her siblings, I suppose. Apple and apricot.
Not forgetting rhubarb.
Oh, dear little rhubarb.
And acerbic tot.
They both laugh. The tension is dissolved.
Don't you see, we can make lots of crumbly jokes, especially about my mother.
We? I will do no such thing.
Oh, Podge, why can't we write together again?
Because this is my career.
That much is obvious. The part you've written for yourself is not so much a character as a walking self-advertisement. Charming, talented, handsome, witty, musical.
And so I am.
So am I. Well, not handsome, but...
I need it more than you. You don't need a career. You got married.
He presses the bell again. Sassoon is at it.
I'm coming.
He opens the door. A whirlwind bursts on stage. Podge eyes Sassoon appreciatively.
Hello. I hope you don't mind us dropping by. Montecrief said you'll keep open house for people who are musical. I am very musical and talented in many other ways, as well as having a divine figure.
And so modest with it too, Podge.
My nickname. I was a podgy youth, and ugly too. The sort of child only a mother or a pederast could love. I made myself beautiful by sheer willpower. They call me the boy actor. I like smoking, drinking, and moderate sexual intercourse. This is Splodge. Her function is to laugh at my bon mots.
And stop you making a fool of yourself, which you are doing now. Won't you introduce us?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Miss Esme Wynne, actress, writer, and chum.
Siegfried Sassoon.
Sassoon? Oh my God, what an ass I've been. Your pictures everywhere. I so admire your poems. I read them in the nude on a rock in Padstow. You have the most marvelous clarity. One day I will write as well as you.
He will too. Our songs are marvellous.
Ah, I sincerely hope so.
Do you have your poems here? I would dearly love a signed copy.
There are some copies over here.
He takes one and goes to Sassoon.
Thank you. Put to Noel Coward.
Sassoon signs. He shows signs of a splitting headache.
Sit down, Siegfried.
Podge opens the book and quotes.
I see them in foul dugouts, gnawed by rats, and in the ruined trenches, lashed with rain, dreaming of things they did with wolves and bats.
And mocked with hopeless longing to regain. Bank
holidays
and picture shows
and picture shows
and
and
spats
spats
and going
to office
in a tray.
in the train. I hate war, like you. I was called up, and I loathed it. The training made me physically ill. I had to clean latrines. It gave me nervous collapse. Thank God I had a senior officer friend who could get me out.
Ah, fortunate in your friends.
I've always felt affinity to older men, ever since I was small. When I was first on stage, aged 11, I scored a great success as Prince Muscle in The Goldfish. I was besieged by besotted vicars. I allowed them small liberties in taxis with my inner thigh in exchange for a nice cream tea.
You seem to have been living entirely for pleasure.
When I was 15, I was the mascot of the artists' rivals, and now it has come in handy to get a medical discharge from the army.
Your hatred then of war is second-hand.
As, I would hazard, is yours. Why, I'm so sorry. So very sorry. I've been ignoring you. I must introduce myself. The boy actor, at your service.
And almost anybody else's.
Hush, child, hush.
Anybody at all.
Robbie Ross.
A great collector and art critic. I read your reviews in the Morning Post. I admire your support for the coming generation.
And what are you appearing in?
Nothing. I was turned down for Oh Joy by Jerome Kern.
Only because he's too good for the chorus. He's going to be in Scandal soon.
It's only a small part, but my career will grow. I have a selfless devotion to my own success.
Scandal. The story of my life. Always mired in scandal.
Scandal, a play by Cosmo Hamilton.
Scandal should stay where it belongs, on stage. Those who become the stuff of scandal have only themselves to blame.
Oh, Podge, don't be so rude.
Robbie,
Rude.
you young slug, has never sought scandal, but never hid the truth, nor did he let the fear of it prevent him doing good or showing kindness. And as for second hand, Robbie has been at war all his life, but not in a way that you would understand.
You mean all that old stuff about Oscar Wilde? I know all that. It's history now. Wilde brought it on himself through vanity and ego. He thought he was invincible because he was an artist.
What are you saying? He was an artist, and a great one.
The artist is the servant of the public, not its master. And he who lives by the public can also die by the public. And as for so-called wit,
Remember where you are. Remember who you're speaking to.
a laboured, shallow, formulaic wit, the weapon of a fat and ugly man who knows he is intrinsically dull. I'm sure he practiced every word he said in front of mirrors ere he ventured out.
I told him he should flee to France. I told him not to prosecute, but he was blinded by Bosie, that spoilt, vindictive child.
It was a fine, brave thing he did.
There's nothing brave in self-inflicted wounds.
Brave? What do you know of brave? This man here is braver than I could ever be, braver than you can conceive. Think of it. 20 years ago and more, Wilde in want of prison, but now declared a bankrupt, the last humiliation. Up again to the High Court of Bankruptcy, paraded in convict stripes and chains, the public staring, laughing, spitting. Never was man so alone. And this man here, his first and truest love, the morning of the hearing, rose and dressed most carefully, full morning coat, striped trousers, wing collar, cravat, grey spats, tie pin and top hat of silk plush. And dressed like that, came up to town to dignify the outcast with respect.
Sassoon becomes Wilde to one side of the stage. He shuffles across the stage as if in heavy irons, boos and catcalls. Ross stands, watches as Sassoon / Wilde comes slowly along the corridor towards him. As he nears, Ross steps forward and slowly, sullenly raises his hat. Time seems to stand still. A long look passes between them in silence. Ross steps back, gestures politely to Wilde Sassoon as if to say, after you. And Wilde passes on. The cat calls of the crowd swell up again. Sassoon reverts to himself. Ross returns to his armchair.
You could not do that. I doubt if 6 men in England could have done that.
You would not think to look at him. He could be such a hero.
He did not have to do it, expose himself to shame and ridicule.
My point exactly. Only a fool would do so willingly.
You've said enough. You'd better go. Coward by name. It's men like you at home who make me glad to get back to the front.
Don't be so harsh on him. He has no experience of love, and there are many different kinds of front. He will find his in time.
We'd better go, Podge. Trust you to go upsetting people.
Me? I am charm itself. But I cannot abide the cult of Oscar, or the man himself.
You were jealous. You're pining for a cult all of your own.
And you are a lesser man for it. This is why you'll never be as great a writer. You want too much that people like you.
Mr. Sassoon, may I call you Siegfried?
You may not.
Well, anyway, it's been enchanting meeting you. I realize the feeling may be one-sided, but I keep a book of notables I've met. This year alone, there's Scott Moncrief, Jerome Kern, Beatrice Lilly, Faye Compton, Bernard Shaw, and dozens more. I'll be delighted to add you to their number. Mr. Ross, thank you so much for the macaroon. We'd love to stay, but we have an urgent appointment to terrorize Twickenham.
Oh, stop it, Podge. I'm sorry, Mr. Ross, but he can't help it.
She follows Podge out. The lights dim to an evening twilight.
Oh, this beastly headache. That awful boy's done it no good at all. I cannot think for the throbbing. I'd better go as well.
I'll see you out.
He gets up and walks Sassoon to the edge of the stage. They shake hands, hold it, looking at one another.
You don't look well.
I have never been well since I was a child.
You need rest.
How can I rest? I'm going to Australia. Gary wants advice on buying art, and they are paying well. I think I will enjoy Australia. I always fit in well with the criminal classes.
Will I see you again before you go?
I think not.
What can I say? I owe everything to you.
And have given me so much in return. We have traded well on the stock exchange of friendship.
I shall be back to the front soon, but I will carry you there, in my heart.
And that, I'm glad to say, is as near as I will get to it. Protect yourself, my dear. The world still needs you.
And you.
No, it has had the best of me.
Sassoon leaves abruptly. There is a pause.
Silence now in Piccadilly. Just the hissing of the gas and the blood beating in my veins. I hear the pounding of my heart, erratic, overloaded. It feels huge within my chest, rising almost to my throat until I choke. Nowadays, all I ask of the friends that I have left is that they last until the end of dinner. But I cannot now be sure that I will last myself. I will join you again. Not in a soppy, superstitious way. I will not follow you into faith. But I would like my ashes to lie in Père Lachaise, under Epstein's enigmatic sphinx with the mutilated genitals. What a perfect symbol of our lives and of our fate.
I will go back again to mud and shit and flooded dugouts, to barbed wire, shells and machine gun madness. I see my men, scrawny, famished, filthy. White and shivering in October rain, they strip to wash, their skin soft and silky. Not what you'd expect. And trust in their eyes. I miss them. I love them. Damn you, Winston. You smug, belligerent toad. Why must you be so right? Nowhere do we feel so much. Nowhere do we fill our lives so full as in this miserable, endless, stinking war. I want to know everything in life. The best, the worst. Yet long for numbness, for nothing. Maybe this time I can take a hit to end all these confusions. The lucky ones are out of it. The dead are well off out of it.
Oh, Podge, what will I do with you? A love never to be returned. I thought one day you might. Don't think you really have such affairs. For all your talk, it's just a front. Tease the fuddy-duddies. You were too nice to be an abomination in the sight of God. And now I am Esme Tyson Wynne. wife of Flight Lieutenant Lyndon Charles Tyson, RFC. I got engaged to make Podge jealous. Thought I could make him pop the question too. Fat chance. I was a fool. And now my husband flies in Sopwiths high over the downs, and maybe next week, France. He wants to lie with me, but I am scared of childbirth. I am too young. And what I really want's a pal, like Podge. Where would it all end? Can one love two? The word of God says no, and I must fight myself.
No, Mr. Ross, you are wrong. I have known love. 2 years of it before the war. 2 years of constant sunshine. Cornish idyll. I was 13, he 20 years my senior. My senior. I see him on a crisp white beach, sketchbook in hand, and later in the foresters. His brass is gleaming in the sun, a god in uniform. And then he died. Each man kills the thing he loves, to quote the mountebank. And I killed mine with my tubercular glance. Always, Philip, always you are with me, and I will never go through that again. I will not love, not like that. I will protect myself, not be fooled by truth. I will hide in plain sight. Mad About the Boy is better on the stage and from the mouths of women.
There is no fate, but I have fought it.
There is no fate, but we will fight it.
There is no fate, but we will fight it.
There is no fate, but we will fight it.
I have carved the space to be what I can be.
We will carve the space to be what we can be.
We will carve the space to be what we can be.
We will carve the space to be what we can be.
Out of ourselves.
Out of our lives.
Out of the world.
To make our lives the best we can. And finally, to make a truce. And peace.
And peace.
Slow fade to blackout. The end.